We are live. Good afternoon. I'm Chris, and this is day 6 of our one-week live events. This series of interviews is part of the Italian Ministry for the Environment's initiative agenda All for Climate, which aims to promote 2021 as the year of climate ambition in view of the pre-COP 26. First of all, I would like to thank those who are listening to us. Feel free to share this event with your friends, and most importantly, to write your questions in the comment section. We are sharing them with our guest during the interview or in the last 10 minutes. Today, we have the pleasure to talk with Leonardo. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Rethinking Climate.
You're welcome. Leonardo is born and based in Genoa. He is a journalist and social media manager and mainly focused on the Arctic, geopolitics, and maritime industry. He's also the founder of the Arctic Observatory, which is a very interesting project. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and explain us what actually is the Arctic Observatory?
Yes, of course. Thank you again, Christian. And very happy to be here hosted by Rethinking Climate. Yes, I'm Leonardo Parigi. I am a journalist and social media manager, and also founder of Osservatorio Artico, which is the first Italian magazine, online magazine, focused on the Arctic and the polar region. I've been studying international politics and international economics at the University of Genoa and then University of Pavia. And then in 2011, I moved to Copenhagen to have my Erasmus program. I was looking for a topic for my master degree and thesis, and I started doing a lot of interviews with professors and so on. And then I've discovered that the Arctic issue was, of course, the main focus for Denmark and the Nordic countries. At that time, 10 years ago, I'm so old, environment and especially the Arctic topic was something very, very, very far away from the Italian mainstream attention, mainly because also in 2011 the main news was about the Arab Springs. So everybody was focused on the Mediterranean area and of course on the on Iraq and Egypt, and also the East, the Far East, China, and the rising of the BRICS. But after 10 years, we can say that the focus has spread also to the Arctic, and mainly because in very few years we have seen that the environment and the climate change has taken the first floor of the politics of all the West countries, I guess, especially in Europe and also in Italy. Even if Arctic is something very far away from us, of course, but we can see the effects of the climate change in our cities, because it's completely different talking about the climate change and talking about the environment and then see the effects. I live in Genoa, and I can say that 2 big floods in 10 years that have completely destroyed 2 or 3 neighborhoods have been something to think about. And so coming back to Osservatorio Artico 10 years ago, I decided to follow the Arctic issue and trying also to get some interviews and some focuses. So I collected a lot of interviews, a lot of materials and theses and books about this topic, and I've seen it growing up also for the mainstream attention. Then I tried for years to publish on the newspapers I collaborate with for about the Arctic issue, also viewed by, I don't know, maritime perspective, cybersecurity perspective, economics, and so on. But all the time was so hard because no one was so interested in this topic. I mean, talking about 8, 7, 6 years ago. Then I tried again, and 3 years ago, at the end of 2018, I said, okay, let's try to do that. And I have, helped by a friend, we have published this website, osservatorioartico.it, and we said, okay, let's try to bring the Arctic to the Italian public. So the idea was to talk about the Arctic issues, economics, geopolitics, society, culture, and so on, just for the Italian public, or all the public in Italian speaking. And after 1 year, we have seen that it was growing up a lot, the interest for this product, this media product, also because we are the only one doing something so particular. And then the last year, in 2020, even if it has been so hard, as we all know, of course, we have seen that the digital media and this new digital life for everybody has helped a lot our growers. So we have now 14 people writing for Osservatorio Artico. We have thousands of followers on our social media channels, and more important, we have a lot of strong partnerships. And I think that, and I hope that Rethinking Climate will be another one.
Sure, absolutely. I have a question for you about one of the last things you said. So even in Italy, people are getting used to see this natural disaster and to actually experience the consequences of climate change, such as extreme weather events, droughts, or floods. But not so many people face in first person the problems in the Arctic region. So what are the feedbacks of people when you share with them the severe impacts of climate change to the Arctic?
It's not easy because I was talking with a friend some days ago about the idea of the market of new houses and real estate market. He was telling me that everything has completely changed, like instead of before the pandemic, because everybody is now looking for houses or homes with a garden, with a terrace, and also it is impacted by the climate change. Depending on the regions. I mean, if you are looking for a new house in Sardinia, now you are maybe also thinking about the rising the rising level of the seas. So if I want to buy a new home that is facing the sea, I must consider that in that case I could have some problems in some years, which is completely different talking about the Arctic, because we have seen a lot of floods, a lot of fires also in our cities, and drought, especially in the south. We are now reading thousands of papers about the problem of drought and desertification of Sicily, Calabria, Sardinia, Puglia, and so on. But at the same time, we are not taking in person this challenge, also because it seems so hard and it seems so far away from me. So I think that one of the main problem of the climate change challenge is also the communication. If I say that you have a big problem, but you can solve it just on your own, okay, so you give up. Probably you wouldn't do anything, or probably yes, we are very happy to do our plastic recycle and going to have a very particular attention to the environment of some trees, or we can also buy an electric new car, but it's something so personal, and it's also so far away from the world population. So one of the big problems of the climate change is the communication also by this point of view, because we are all the time thinking that our bubble is the world, but it's not the world. As we can see during the elections, as we can see during the last elections for Donald Trump in 2016, that has been changed for Biden, but it has been for the same in Europe, in a lot of European countries. So if we consider that all the world is digitalized and everybody is very fancy with also some Zoom directs and Zoom live events following this, in this case, like environmental crisis, this could be a problem, because the world is not following these topics a lot as we think. So when we talk about the Arctic, our feedbacks are completely different, each one, because we have a lot of people that have been traveling in the Arctic, maybe in the Svalbard Islands, or yes, I moved to Greenland last year. That has been amazing. Or a lot of people that really want to do something for the environment, but our idea is to bring the Arctic to a wider public. We don't want to tell the Arctic to people who is already focused on the environment and on the climate change. We want to talk about this region to everybody, because there's all the topics, all the issues related to the Arctic, like geopolitics, will have also an effect to our lives. Also in Italy, I know that it seems very hard to consider, but it is. In example, we have seen during the last Suez accident. I'm living in Genoa, so everybody talk about the ports and maritime industry here, of course. But at the same time, all the world have discovered that quite 90% of all the goods have done almost one or two travel by ships. And if I have a blockage in the Suez Canal, the first reaction by Russia and by also other Arctic actors have been, okay, let's use the Northeast Sea Passage. This could be a challenge also, because Russia, but also China, but also a lot of other countries, and especially also private sector, a lot of people and actors are trying to push to the new maritime route off of the Russian coast in the Arctic. The Polar Silk Road and all these new maritime routes could completely change also what we know as ports and what we know as European economics. Why? Well, we don't know if actually it will be ever open, because it's very hard to think that all the global maritime traffic will be shifted to the north. Of course, it won't be possible. But if China and Russia could be helped by also the climate change, for having ice-free Arctic, maybe during the during the summer season, then it could be also affecting Italy, because a lot of maritime routes could be open and could be very easy to for ships to go more easily to Antwerp or to Hamburg instead of Genoa or Piraeus. And it could be very, very, very difficult for our economics. So our challenge is not just to talk about the environment, but trying to help the Italian public considering the Arctic as a game changer, as a potential game changer for so many different topics.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. And I think also another question for you would be, this matter is really complex, and what is the way to communicate in a simple and effective way to people that this problem, which is something like climate change and, for example, melting ice, which is a problem which is very far from us, how can we explain that this topic also involves our lives, our everyday lives?
We have decided to have a very maybe particular editorial line. I mean, we are trying to divide all the issues and then having all together. I mean, for the climate and for science problems, we decided to ask to some other people. We don't want to just publish something because we have seen that there is news about the permafrost. We prefer to also, because it's not a newspaper, it's a magazine, so it's something that it's a place where we can analyze the news and we can go deeper. In this case, we have the honor to be also a partner of CNR, of the Italian Research National Center. And it's very important because if we have so many important scientists about this kind of things, we can have the news, have a science news, and we can work it, and we can serve to the mainstream public. So it's very difficult to explain why the climate change and why the environment could be very important to us, not just because of the recycling waste, not just because of the temperatures, but we have to consider all the items in the addendum, because in example, for the ice melting, okay, the ice is melting, who cares? Because I can do anything. I can go there to take the ice and take it into my fridge. So I can do really anything. I can just have a good recycling policy. I can be a nice, a good citizen. Okay, but I can really do anything effective. But at the same time, if we have a very strong communication, and also, which means also trying to being effective and trying to be active also in our community, it could change. It could help also. It could help also to avoid some kind of travels in the Arctic, and instead of highlighting this, some good practices. In example, we can do a lot of things, but I think also that we should also have a positive communication. If we do something useful for me, for my community, and it could be useful also for the whole planet, okay, I will do that, instead of just being a negative communication. Everything is gonna be wrong, and the apocalypse, or instead of the next pandemics will come from the permafrost melting. the permafrost melting is probably also worse than the ice melting. The ice melting is terrible and everything is gonna change. Okay, maybe, but not maybe because of the temperature, not maybe because I don't believe in science. Of course, I do that. But the ice is melting. Okay, the sea level probably will rise. Okay, for a normal person who has nothing related to the Arctic, and who is only trying to get a wage and nothing more, he doesn't care. Or probably, yes, he's scared off, but he's more scared of not having a job today or tomorrow. We have to change. I think we have to completely change this idea. We have to have a positive community with positive jobs, which are related to a new system, a new socioeconomic system. So I know that it's very difficult to create these kind of things, but I also think that we can try to have fun also with these issues, with these topics, and is what we try to do, not to be hard, but just to be soft and trying to not to solve the problem, but to bring the Arctic to the people in an easier way.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And yeah, from a practical point of view, one can think that the Arctic is not like a crucial region for what concerns food production, tourism, or urbanization, which is something that people care most about. So what would you say to people thinking that the ice melting or climate change issue in the Arctic is not a big deal?
I know that it's very hard, and I really hope that no one historian is listening, but I think that it's quite the same like Christopher Colombo discovered the New World. Like, okay, we know that there is something that could be a new world. We don't know what is inside. We don't actually know what could be useful or what could be dangerous for us. There is a big, but very huge area of the planet which is not inhabited for 90% of the territory. I mean, there is more than 4 million people living in the Arctic, above the polar circle, but we don't care. So we know that there is a place completely covered by the ice, and the ice is everywhere. We think that there are a lot of resources, a lot of rare earth, a lot of oil and gas and natural gas, and so many other things that could be useful for our society, for the digital society. An example, the mining sector in Greenland is something crucial and has been very crucial in the last elections. In example, we don't actually know if Arctic will be the crucial point of the future. I hope not. I hope not, because if it will be the crucial point of our planet and of our politics, everything will mean that everything will be completely wasted, because we know that in this place we can have a lot of spatial resources. We can have new maritime routes, so it could changing also for the economies. And also we have 5 coastal countries, which are Russia, United States, Canada, Denmark, through the Greenland, and Norway, and also so many other countries related to the Arctic, from Finland to China, in example, but also so many others like the Nordic countries, Sweden, Iceland. Also Scotland has an Arctic strategy. So a lot of countries of all the world are looking at the Arctic as something very, very, very important and particular. And this topic is growing up. This interest is growing up. Also, Italy has an Arctic strategy. This could be a crucial point, and no one is really believing that a war could happen in the Arctic. But we can say that this peaceful time will go on forever. We don't know. There is no international legislation about the Arctic. We have only 5 coastal countries, which are dividing also the maritime areas. Of course, it's not so easy, but just 4. So we have a lot of different interests. In example, Russia has more than 24,000 kilometers of coast just facing the Arctic, and a lot of towns and a lot of also cities are completely built on the permafrost that now is melting. We don't know what is inside of the permafrost, but probably the next pandemics will come from the viruses inside of the permafrost, which are freezed by thousands of years. So we don't know what it could happen. Exactly as for Cristoforo Colombo as 500 years ago. We don't know what is going to happen, but we must now consider that we can do exactly the same of 500 years ago. We have now the technology and the knowledge to do better, and also to preserve the environment. Also because we are now living in a particular time, as we all know, that it was impossible to consider, like 13 months ago. So, and we know that the biological diversity is important now to preserve our world from other pandemics. We know that the environment conservation is important. We know that we have a lot of instruments and a lot of tools now to avoid this kind of disaster, this kind of dangers for us. It's very egoistic, but let's do that. Let's be egoistic if we can save our lives.
Yeah. Speaking about politics and your example with Russia, how is the political sector in Russia reacting to the problem? And is there a way to put more pressure on them in order to make them take action facing climate change? Because I think that they have, as you said, many interests, and maybe they are not so only environmental and climate interests. They also have economic interests.
Well, it depends, because when we say Russia, it's like saying Italy for so many different point of view. So if I say that Italy has a problem as for the organized crime, we could agree, we could not. Russia it's the same, talking about the environment, because Russia will now have the chairmanship of the Arctic Council from this year, from 2021 to 2023, and its declared targets will be the sustainable development and the environment and cooperation, international cooperation, research, science research, and so on. So, but at the same time, Russia is an Arctic state and has the need also to build up also new infrastructures, because if we say that a new polar route could be open in the next year, well, okay, but all these ships will need new ports, will need new search and rescue installations, new airports, helicopters, other ships, hospitals, and so on, just for the maritime sector. Okay, so of course, new generation, the Z generation is looking for a new way to live also the environment, and the nature and the environment is something very crucial for the Z generation, and of course it's also very important for all the other ages. But at the same time, we have to consider that we are talking about international politics, and we can also, well, speaking in an ideal way, we can have both. We can have the development, and we can have also environmental conservation. Practically, it's something completely different, because we have, when we think about Norway, Norway is something like it's an example for us. You know, like if we talk about the Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, we think that everything is working, everything is very good. Also because for the welfare state, for the environment conservation, for everything, we see we look at the Nordic countries only as examples. But at the same time, Norway has the richness of Norway also comes from the oil drilling of all the last decades. So it's more complicated, also because the internal politics it's so often very it's more complicated by of what we see on our newspapers and on our TV shows. Even if the new generation will push the Russian society to a new environmental idea, new environmental behavior, the politics will have also to face some important challenges, like, an example, the energy sector. So 25% of the GDP, the Russian GDP, comes from the energy sector. So we can say to Russia, okay, let's stop drilling the gas, please.
Yeah, let's talk about the present. So globally speaking, are countries actually considering the problem of the Arctic, and how are they dealing with it?
Well,
it's a tough question.
Yeah, it is actually. Also, Turkey has an Arctic strategy. So everybody is looking to the big white as something that could be very useful. In example, so many Asian states, from Japan to China, from South Korea to Singapore, all of them has a strategy for the Arctic, which means mainly means research, science research, soft power, also development, and so on. But we have to consider that if we go on the website of the Arctic Council, which is the most important international body, which is not ruling the Arctic, because it's not ruled by an international body, but which is cooperating, is working for the Arctic. We can see that there is a lot of, well, but I mean also Italy, France, Poland, and Germany, also Spain. So we have a lot of countries, a lot of European, Asian, and also American countries looking at the Arctic. Why? Because it's a challenge. We know that it could be also full of resources, but also it could be full of opportunities. In example, Italy, we have an Arctic strategy, which will be also renewed in the next months, probably. But our strategy for the Arctic is, first of all, cooperation with our coastal states. In example, Norway, we are an observer of the Arctic Council, and which means that it gives us also a new a new identity in the Arctic, even if we are, of course, mainly focused on the Mediterranean area and on the Europe. We also know that we can go on in the Arctic. Every year, the Italian Navy goes to the Arctic with a scientific research mission, which is called the High North. And on this vessel, on the Alliance ship, are embarked the Istituto Italiano, the Italian Maritime Institute, research centers, the Italian Navy, and so many other national bodies for research. So going to the Arctic means a lot of different things. Means also promoting the national companies. An example, Eni is one of the most important company that really supports for in the Arctic. Why? Even if we are talking about oil and gas, even if we are talking about a sector that it's considered something completely the opposite of the Arctic and the environment conservation, but we know also that we are living in a period of time where we need this kind of energy, and we know that technology can help us also to solve some problems. Of course, not all the problems, but the national strategy of Italy supports also the private sector. Another example could be Leonardo, which means helicopters, which means shipyards, which means satellite technology, and so on. So the same example could be done for France, could be done for Germany. Germany also is supporting the science research through the Alfred Wenger Institute and the Mosaic expedition that we have seen last year, that has been blocked in the ice for months. So all the world is looking at the Arctic for so many different reasons. What we can do to help the people, but also to help all the, don't want to say public, but also our country to be more focused on the Arctic, is to look for something that could be useful or dangerous for Italy. Then when we see that we have a stronger link, we can have also a more participation in.
Okay. So last question about politics, I promise. As you said, on one hand, countries are actually doing something, but on the other hand, we know that greenwashing is a fact. So why do you think climate change is always the second or even the third priority in policymaking?
Because it's nice. We have seen that climate change is something that is now business. I remember that, well, when I was a child, my father was very focused on the environment, and nobody was listening to him. Like, yes, okay, yeah, no problem. Of course, we know that trees are very beautiful, but when the companies have seen that the climate change could be also business, we can see that in fashion, in example, the climate and the recycling and the sustainable development is always the first thing that we can see. But at the same time, after the advertising that we see on Instagram or in TV, we can also turn and consider that our homes are not different, our houses are not different from 10 years ago, and our clothes are the same. So the fashion industry is just an example. Also, the fashion industry is trying to do their parts, but at the same time, we must consider that business, I don't want to say business is business because it's very easy, but the idea is the private sector is trying to renew their identity in some cases, through the greenwashing. And this is probably the most difficult challenge to tell to the public, because it's important if an oil company talk about the environment. And I personally believe that also the engineers of this oil company are really scared of the climate change, and they are trying their best to solve the problem. Okay, but at the same time, I must also consider that a lot of our products, the majority of our goods, of all the goods that we have and that we want, comes from a wrong economic system, which is based also on the fossil fuels and on the dangerous way of development. So the problem is this one. Greenwashing is something very dangerous also, because when I say okay, I am a company that I am dangerous, I am drilling, in example, I am drilling, but I know that we want to build up a new climate center to help the newspaper to have new data. In example, I can have a balance where I can do something that is dangerous for the a natural area, and at the same time I give you something that is completely different. So am I good? Am I evil? It depends, but I think that what we can do is to have a more a deeper knowledge of the problem, and a deeper knowledge also of the solution. There is no easy solution to the climate change. There is no easy decisions to take. Also because we know that, we think that it could be very easy to solve the problem. Also for our cities, we have a lot of pollution, okay, but we have seen, like in the last year, that the idea 1 year ago was, okay, probably thanks to this lockdown, the pollution will go down and everything will be solved for some months. But we have seen also that the pollution by our houses was probably quite the same, also was worse than before, of course, because everybody was at home. So it's not easy to solve the problem. It's not easy also for the companies and for the countries to change. Of course, what we can do is to push up, is to push the pressure on the politics and also on the companies, especially, to solve the problem. But the first thing that we can do is also to try to change our lives. Try to change a little bit every day. I don't want to say let's do a personal revolution, also because we are using now a digital tool that has been also has been developed by a lot of people, and we are using now rare earth and particular materials that has been taken from so far away from Italy. We don't know if will be perfectly recycled, and we don't know if it has been very, very, very impacted to the region, probably Africa, where these materials have been taken. So it's very important to trying to solve the problem every day, but just little steps, and trying to focus on not to be too much far away from the reality.
So let's talk about future, and in particular your future. Do you have future projects that you are developing right now, and what are your expectations in communicating sustainability?
Well, Osservatorio Artico is the main project that I'm following, because my job is actually, as we said, a social media manager for companies and for public institutions. And Osservatorio Artico is something parallel to my job, and we want to grow up so much, but step by step. Our first target, thanks also to this big growth that we have in the last 2 years, is to promote a lot of particular partnerships. We are now partners of political research centers. We are partners of also travel bloggers. We are partners of other institutions, and we are very proud of that. And we want to go on to move on in these directions. We have a lot of people writing on Osservatorio Artico, and in the next days we will be publishing a new magazine which will be called Borealis, which will be focused on the Arctic. We can be also spread to a wider public. We want to help the public, the Italian-speaking public, to better know the Arctic, but especially the Arctic issues, because as we said, the Arctic geopolitics could really affect Italy also, even if we think that it's so far away, but it could be. And at the same time, for the environment, we want to let grow up these kind of partnerships to better understand what is going on, because we are so far away geographically far away from the Arctic, and it's very hard also to have a specific idea of what is going on. That's why we have this strategical partnership with Osservatorio Russia, which is mainly focused on Russia, of course, observatory, which helps us to better understand what Russia thinks, because the problems with talking about Russia, talking about China especially, is that we have an idea of these countries, we have an idea of that kind of politics, of these that kind of political parties and so on, but we don't actually know their culture. We don't actually know, also because we can't read Russian, or we can't read Chinese. That's why we have Guy talking and reading Chinese in our in Osservatorio Artico, because we want to give precise information. We don't want just to do clickbaiting about the environment or Russian. We'd be delighted also. We have done several interviews, an example, with the ambassadors. We have done interviews with the Danish ambassador, with the Norwegian ambassador, and so on, just because we want to go deeper on the information. We just don't want to let the news dominate the scene. And for who could be interested, last January we have done a festival which has been called Italia Chiama Artico. You can find all the videos, all the episodes of Italia Chiama Artico on our YouTube channels, and you can discover the interviews with all the Nordic countries ambassadors in Italy, in example.
Yeah, your job is amazing, and I totally support what you're doing to share more and more information about the Arctic. And yeah, in my personal experience, I feel that the Arctic and the poles in general are really underrated, and there is no many information about it. So why information media tend to ignore this topic, or not to talk about it as he deserves?
I think that the first thing is also that we are more concentrated on our other things, and we consider Arctic and the polar region something so far away from us. And it could be also, yes, it could be affecting our lives, but okay, it's 20 years that I see polar bears starving, but I see also that polar bears are still living. So who cares? You know, like we must. When I say that we should take another step in communication and also the environmental communication, I mean exactly this kind of things, because we can spend all our time just talking about the environment, talking about the sustainable development, but nothing will change. I think that it could be more effective and more useful also to see it through another way. If I say that the polar bears are starving, and I say why are starving, but with some specific data, and I can show you maybe a camera of the polar bears, what they are doing now, and I have also an interview with someone who is very expert of polar bears, and she explained me why the polar bears are starving and so on. This could be useful instead of just having these images. Also because I don't care. Like okay, they are starving like so many other people, so many other animals, and it seems so far away. But at the same time, I see that in the last 5 years, the Arctic issue and the Arctic topic has been growing up a lot, also in Italy, and not just because of the animals, not just because of the climate change. One of our problem is to trying to have a good communication about the topic, because if I write article on Google, I can find a lot of last news, but quite all the news are about the climate change, but something very theoretical, or something like the ice is melting and the next 10 years will be crucial and then everything will be gone. Okay, so what? Or, in example, Russia is militarizing all the coastal all the coasts, and all the is militarizing all the regions, and also something like Greenland will be colonized by China, and so on. The problem is to go to the source of the news. This is very difficult because we are also having not problems, but it's not easy to have a very good quality of information, because we must consider that what we think about Russia is affecting what we read. So it doesn't mean that it's completely true. An example, we must it's very important to better understand their culture, the Russian culture, the Greenlandic culture, the Canadian culture, and so on, just because through this kind of knowledge we can really read the news.
Yeah, and you mentioned footages of polar bears, for example, were starving, saying that this is a good way to make people understand the problem. Are there other ways to communicate your findings, and how are people reacting when they find out what's happening to this region?
Yes, one of the most useful way to communicate the climate change is fear and terror, and there is actually it's something that we want to avoid, because it's very useful for your clickbaiting, it's very useful for your Google Analytics, but it's not useful to create knowledge. It's not useful to have a very effective idea of what can I do for the environment, but also what can I see. In example, tourism has exploded in the last years in the Nordic countries. Iceland has been considered like a new exotic. Everybody wants to go to the Blue Lagoon and to have all the selfies in the Blue Lagoon. Of course, I'd like to again, but the problem is that if we all move to Iceland, of course, the Icelandic people and the Icelandic touristic sector will be happy, but at the same time, we can have a little bit problem. when we spoke about tourism with Lina Ilvisaker, who is a Norwegian journalist living now in the Svalbard Islands. She told us that 2 years ago, before the pandemic, in the Svalbard Islands arrived something like 13,000 people. 13,000 people by cruises, especially, that they wanted just to see the Svalbard Islands and to go hiking, to go trekking in the Svalbard Islands. And I'm quite sure that everybody of that people will be very focused on environment, because just if you really love the nature, if you really know, if you really love the polar bears, you go to the Svalbard Islands instead of Caribbean. But at the same time, having so many people in that places, it's a problem. It's a problem because, of course, it's a good way to have a new way of development, new way of health, a wealth for the Norwegian and all the people living in the Svalbard Islands. But at the same time, it's a problem because all these people need restaurants, bars, toilets, hospitals, medical services, and so on. And all these people, maybe 80% of these people have arrived to the Svalbard Islands by cruises, which is another problem, because what could happen if a cruise ship could shrink in the Arctic? We have seen that we faced a little big problem called Costa Concordia some years ago in Italy, and we are prepared to solve these kind of problems. But what could happen in that latitudes? So it's not easy, actually, talking about the Arctic, and we must consider all the time, we must consider all the topics, all the issues related to just one news. So even if the tourism is going up, it doesn't mean that everything will be very cool for the environment. But at the same time, if I don't want to go to the Arctic, I will never be very understanding what is going on. So it's very, very, very difficult.
Yeah, I would like to talk about this for hours and hours, but we came to the end of this event. So thank you, Leonardo. It was a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you so much, Christian. Thank you. Rethinking Climate.
And thank you all for your time today. Tomorrow's event is the last one of our week, and we will have Asia talking with John about plastic issue, who would like to thank because he contributed with very interesting questions throughout the whole week. So I invite you to follow us on our social media, and please check out our other interviews and podcasts on Facebook and YouTube. See you tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye.